Hello there, it's me, Sari, here again, and today I'm here trying to attempt to make a sort of a tutorial of how I made this scene stamped thing that you could absolutely make into a clean and simple card like this. Just glue it down on a simple card base. This one is 6 by 6 inches when it's folded or scored like this. Of course it's 6 by 12 inches the full long length way, and then I'm going to score it at 6 inches. Or if you want to, you could actually go further and decorate it and just make a standing up or upright Z fold card out of it if you would like to do so instead. So I suppose that the Z thingy goes like this. So I won't be doing a Z fold card today. I'll be just showing you how I make these sort of scene stamped thingies. And I actually came to think about it. I have forgotten about something. Let's see if I can work it out while I'm thinking about it right here. But as you can see, I have made the sort of same card, but perhaps with a little bit of difference here and there, especially when it comes to using text stamps, or perhaps even using the branch stamp there, or just going in a different direction altogether. Here I've done a sort of similar thing, but I've done some stamping in order to create a crazy looking moon like that. Here I have used some stamps from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, apart from that cute little rabbit, which I thought could be nice looking there. You could of course go for a different colour altogether. So the difference between these two of course is that I've used mainly broken china, perhaps a little bit of faded jeans on the outsides, whilst I've had the broken china in the centre, and then I've gone ahead and used the faded jeans all over it. And I actually remembered that I've forgotten even one more thing. Let's see if I can get that without leaving you hanging here for too long. And as you can see here, I have used different kinds of stamps in order to create these scenes. They are sort of similar, as you can see, but just depending on what kinds of stamps you've got, you can make some wonderful things, I'm sure. And in this case, I've actually used a stamp from Slöjd-Detaljer, which I'll be showing you in a second. I'll just go and get myself some brushes, because I do want to use them as well. So here we are with the brushes. So let me just show you some stamps, so perhaps you can get your idea of how you can do things. In this case I have a Lavinia stamp with a moon, and this is a really big moon, so I can't really use it for these projects, because then the moon is going to take over the complete scene. Or actually, I could, if I wanted to. That could be a rather funky idea, just having a big old moon there. I've got some Swedish text stamps. Both of these are from Panduro. It's a sort of a crafty store here in Sweden. And here are some grunge basic clear stamps from, I think could it be Joy Design or something. And I used that one in order to create the circular effect on the moon on one of the cards, or perhaps two. I do like the stamps from Creative Expressions. They also have some beautiful dies and things. And the thing is that the picture is a little bit smaller than the stamps are in real life. And I have used quite a few of these, and I'm thinking perhaps I'll be making a card today with these. Here is that moon and the star stamp from Slöjd-Detaljer. You can see it there. And there are some wonderful scene or landscape stamps as well as some beautiful text stamps. And this one is called Landskap, which means landscape. And here is something else. I just wanted to show you this one. It's another set of stamps from Creative Expressions. Just look at these beautiful patterns. These I won't be using for this project today. Hero Arts also has these beautiful stamps that you can do some landscape stamping with if you want to. Some of these packages also have some coordinating dies if you're interested in that. Here are the stamps that I talked about when it came to Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. There are some beautiful reindeer and trees and everything, and just look at that one, that is a beauty. And there's also some stars and a bear. Here is something else from Hero Arts. It's a reindeer there and a Christmas tree that you can actually stamp layer upon layer. And then just look at those dots. Wonderful. Here is something that I got in a magazine, and you can see that the rabbit is sitting there. It's a cute little rabbit there. But there are also some foxes and reindeer and even more trees and a running rabbit as well. Here is the branch that I used on some of the cards, and this one is from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. The set is called Winter Sketchbook, and this is an old set, mind you, so you might not be able to get your hands on it, but I do like it. Here's another set from Tim Holtz, a beautiful set of Christmas trees there. It's a smaller thingy there, and this one is called Mini Holidays too. This one is also an oldie, but a goodie, so perhaps you won't be able to get your hands on it. And here are some other examples that you might find in your stores. Amy Design is this one from, and you can find the lovely trees there and some skates and a fox and an owl. And here is something else from Precious Marieke. And I mean, there's a lot of nice looking things. I actually used the branch there when I was at crop yesterday. So I think I'll just keep things simple and start my way working with these things. And perhaps I'll actually go for this one as well, because I do like to work with that. But first things first, I mean, it's a good idea to just prep your stamps, to put them on acrylic blocks and everything. And when it comes to stamping like this, I actually mostly like to stamp with my acrylic blocks. I mean, I do have these stamping tools and everything, and if I were really insecure about my abilities to stamp, I would definitely go for them. And I did actually use it a couple of times yesterday, especially when it came to really solid stamps that have lots of ink on them. And let's say I could actually go for this text as well. Christmas greetings. I do like it because it has a sort of a typewriter font. I'm really fond of those kinds of stamps. And I'm keeping things rather simple, so I just want to give you a heads up on how I made these things. And let's go for this one as well. The Swedish stamp set. So I think I'll just put it there. And the good thing about having clear stamps in my book, of course, is that I can see through the stamps. I know where I'm going to place it. And I also like using these grid blocks from Inkadoo. I do like because they have these waved edges, and it's really nice to hold them in my hand. And what I'll be starting off with right now is I have die cut a couple of circles. And the thing is, well, so I think I'll just go for this one. I have cut this out and I sort of matched it together with that, so I know that I can make it work sort of when I'm going to stamp on it later. And I do believe that I have enough glue there. I have used this remount spray in order to create a repositionable sticker, if you will. And here it is. So I've got my mask there, and I'll be starting off using some of the Distress Oxide inks. I'll be using perhaps all of the 5 today, I'm not sure. I do have 2 shades of blue, Broken China and Faded Jeans. I also have Antique Linen and Fossilized Amber, as well as Seedless Preserves. And I'll be starting off with that one. I also have 3 blending tools, and I do have 1 for each colour family. And I'll be using VersaFine later on to stamp the, so to speak, the solid images there. And in order to get myself going here, I'll be starting off with some Seedless Preserves ink. And I'll just sort of rub it round the mask. And I'm going to create a sort of a nice soft purpley shade here. And I have done this a couple of times now, so I do know that it's going to work rather well, I hope. See, that's the one that I actually forgot about. I do need a piece of paper in order to make myself a snowbank now, won't I? So I'll just get myself some paper. So I'm going to just take a printing paper like this, and I'm just going to tear an edge like so, just to see where I can end up with it. I mean, you might go for this hill here if you wanted to. I usually like to have a hill like so, and in order to make sure that the paper is going to stay in its place, I could actually just go ahead and spray with this. So I do want to keep it on that side. I'm going to put the glue on the other side, of course. I'm just going to spray it in the air now, aren't I? I'm just going to, let's see if I can show it to you. I'm just going to take a tray like so. I'm just going to put some spray here. And I want to let it dry a little bit before I put it onto the paper. And here I could just sort of imagine how I want the snowbank to go. I could of course use the straight line, or I could just go a little bit further down like so, because I don't want the snow to go overboard. And in this case, I'm not sure if you can see, but the end of the paper is sort of here. So I can see that I'm going to have a snowbank looking like this. So now I'm free to actually continue working with this. So I'm starting off with my brushes because I think it's an easy way for me to go about it. I don't have to strain my hand too much in the early process of this card. Let's see if I can get myself a little bit higher. So I'll start off with some Distress Oxide Broken China, and I'll just start off around the edge of the purple ink there. And in this case, I don't really have to pay that much attention on how I'm getting the ink on, as long as I'm getting it on. Of course, it's nice to have a nice border like this, but I think it's nice enough to just work it like this. And the thing you should think about, of course, when you are using brushes versus blending tools, is that a blending tool will give you a more concentrated color on your paper, whilst brushes are giving you a soft and muted look. And I think it's an important thing to actually make sure that you are getting a sort of a bit more darker blue line there, so you know that you're getting a really nice and crisp line on your image later on. So now I think that I do have a nice surface which I can do some more work on with blending tools. So let's see, I'm going to take this one, and this one is getting sort of torn and worn, so perhaps I need to change it soon. So I'm just going to take it, and the thing that I do is that I'm making a grip like this, and I'm keeping my finger on top, and I'm just sort of keeping it with my 3 other fingers there, and the one is just loosely hanging around. And I'm just going to sort of tilt it when I'm taking it, and I'm starting off outside the paper, and I'm moving in a circular motion like this, in order to not get really harsh, sort of round patterns from this blending tool onto the paper. And it's a good thing to actually have the snowbank paper here, because now I know that I won't sort of get my finger marks onto the surface. So it's a really good idea to have a piece of paper like this, you can hold on to it. So when it comes to making backgrounds like this, I mean, there are some tips that you can actually learn along your way when you're crafting. And this one doesn't have to be perfect at all. So now I'm going to go ahead with some faded jeans, just to get a sort of a dark border around the paper like so. If I wanted to, I could of course go in with more ink. And then I could go with the Sealess Preserves, and I'm going to tilt it more, and I'm just going to make it a really crisp, sharp and crisp colouring around the sun, or in this case the moon. So now I've come this far, and it's time to take away the mask, and I have to bend the paper a little. And you see, it actually stuck there really well. And I'm keeping my stickers on the plastic pocket so I can actually use the glue a couple of more times. So before I get started with stamping, I'm just going to take some ink from Antique Linen Distress Oxide, and I'm going to tilt this one too, in order to create sort of a not perfectly blended pale blue, pale pink, pale yellow, sorry, pale yellow color there. And now I'm going to go ahead using this Moon and Stars stamp. Had this been a rubber stamp, then of course it would have been a really good idea to use a sort of a stamping tool of sorts. It could have been a Misty or perhaps Tim Holtz's stamping board or any other sort of stamping tool, because then you would be able to just make sure that you're going to end up exactly on that circle. I did actually manage to get this one a little bit crooked the first time I did it, so I'm just going to try to make it work. But as you can see, this was the first time I made this, so what I had to do, of course, is get my hands dirty, so to speak, and sort of rescue it somehow. So what I could do now is just take a sort of a sponge like this, put on some ink and just work it in there, just to soot it, oh my goodness, just to soot it a little bit more. So it isn't going to work now, of course, it isn't. So I could try to use a small, thin liner pen. This one says 0.1. So I could just start by, this one is completely dry, isn't it? My goodness, but a poor pencil, I must say. So let's see if I have something else. I'm going to go for a micron 005. I think I'll just have to move up and make a little bit harsher line there. This one is also completely dry, so away you go. Let's, 0.8 is too thick. 0.1 I mean. So now I'm getting something at least. So I'm just going to create some sort of a shadow there. It'll have to do, basically. So it isn't easy with those clear stamps all the time, but let's see. So now I have that one there. So now it's time for me to actually take this away, if I'm not thinking incorrectly. Yes, I could take it away. So now I have a snowbank there. So this is what it looks like right now. And I think I'll just go for a pine tree, and I think I'll just put it down here. And then I have the moose on the other side looking at the pine tree. And I think I'll just take that Tim Holtz's pine tree branch there as well. So now where I have a stamp with a lot of ink, I think that I might be better off using a Misty or some kind of a stamping tool. I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed here, even though I'm not, giving this stamp a little bit of CPR in order to transfer it from the stamp into the paper, or onto the paper. You see, that's what I'm talking about. So now it would have been a really good idea to have a stamping tool of sorts. So now I'm going to try to make it work. I'm sure I won't be able to do so. I have to butt my head in here, I'm sorry. Well, let's see if I can make it work. Had I now had this stamp in a stamping tool, I could have just re-inked the stamp and put it back onto its place. Let's see if I can make it work. So what's the problem here? I mean, I didn't do too badly with the stamping, as you can see. There's not a shadow. There's a little bit of outsider thing, but it doesn't matter really on this one. But how come? Perhaps my surface isn't the best. So let's see. I think I'll just go for it a third time, because there is a lot of ink here. I can see it on the stamp, but I think that my surface isn't flat enough. So I'm just going to have to put it down a little, just to see if I can make more stability to it. So I think I'll just try to put it there, and I'm going to press it down here. So I'm still here. It's better, so I can actually live with it now. So bear in mind, your surface needs to be completely flat. And then when it comes to the moose's legs here, I mean, the moose is standing completely straight, so it's a good idea if I can find myself a spot where I can put the moose's feet. But as I discovered yesterday, sometimes I didn't get the moose completely straight, as I did now. I mean, it's a pretty good look, I must say. I could actually complete it with the text as well. And then I had to correct it with some frontage embossing enamel. I'll be showing you that in a second or two. And now I'm just going to stamp the text here, the Christmas greetings stamp. So here we are. So far it's looking like this, but I'm thinking, it's a little bit too naked, isn't it? So you could go for either chunky white embossing enamel from Stampendas and Frontage, or you could go for shabby white embossing enamel from the same company. And the difference between these two is that this is completely white, and this one has got a glitter, a golden glitter in it as well. So these are just a little bit different from each other. So what I'll be doing now, you know what? I'm skipping ahead now, aren't I? So first off, I'll be using the Distress Sprayer. And I'll be making a sort of a bleached effect here, hoping to get the water droplets here and there. Most preferably, I would like to get them really small and tiny, but sometimes they get a little bit more bigger and splotchy, and that's just the way things are, I suppose. So, if I'm not going to push this one completely to the bottom, or I could get away with a little bit of small water droplets here and there. My, for goodness, this one isn't good at all. So good to know. I need to put a sticker on that one because that one isn't working with me at all. But in the end, it sort of gave me a nice look anyway, but it wasn't what I was going for now, was it? So now I'm going to pour some of the chunky white embossing enamel onto this. But before I do so, I'm going to put a squeezer there, so you can actually hold the paper. I can just leave it like this if I want to. I'm going to just take a pinch and put on some of these things, just to create a snowy scene. It's snowing in the middle of the night, and the moon is lighting up the landscape here. And I'm going to take that one away, and I'm going to take my embossing gun or heat tool, and I'm going to put it underneath the paper. So the heat is going to make sure that those small embossing powder things are going to get stuck to the paper, because these are made out of plastic, I believe, and plastic melts when it comes in contact with heat. So this is a way to actually go about it if you want to have some snow here and there and you don't have a stamp to fasten these things with. And it's a good idea to actually move the heat gun around so you don't burn the paper. And if you see any sort of smoke, it's just going to be from the water that I actually sprayed on before. So now I see that the things are getting stuck to the paper, so I can actually go at it from the top. So let's see now. Let's see, I think that this is going to be it's going to look a little bit confused or silly or something. I could go for, let's see if I can find those. You know what? I'm not sure. I think I'll just, I could go for a little bit of blue ink. I'm hoping I'll be able to transfer it from this paper. Otherwise, I'm going to go for a dried piece of baby cloth or baby wipe. And I'm just going to sort of transfer the blue ink there, just to create a shadow and depth, sort of. And when it comes to the mousse, I could do a little bit of shading like this. But another thing that you could do, so this is what it looks like right now. It's I see that the memory is running out, I suppose. I think I'll just stop here before going too far. But what I could do also is add on a little bit more of those and sort of create a pile of snow where they are and heat set it. So if the video is going to be turned off right now, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you got most of this, what I wanted to show you. So this is also a way to cover any mishaps. So in case this dies out, bye bye, and Merry Christmas to all of you. I think I'll just put them up there and start again. So here we are, a Merry Christmas card from me. Hopefully you can do better than I did here, but I hope you did catch my drift on how to make these sorts of cards. Bye bye.